Jeff Bezos' $600 billion empire just collapsed. The shocking truth behind his downfall. Welcome back to Celeb Lux Life, where we reveal the celebrity secrets mainstream media won't tell you. If you're tired of surface-level gossip and want the real insider tea on Hollywood's elite, hit that subscribe button now, because what I'm about to share about Jeff Bezos' $600 billion empire will shock you, and subscribers always get this exclusive content first. This is what untouchable power is supposed to look like. A $500 million super yacht, the Kourou, so colossal it sparked an international incident over a historic bridge. A real estate portfolio so vast, it includes its own private island enclave known as the Billionaire Bunker, a private space company, Blue Origin, that literally launches him toward the heavens. For years, Jeff Bezos has curated an image of supreme, almost mythological power. He's the founder, the visionary, the titan who reshaped the globe with a single click. His wealth, which tops $230 billion, places him among the very richest people on the planet. We see the pictures from the lavish parties, the perfectly tailored suits, the muscles honed by a regimen that seems to mirror the ruthless efficiency of his business. We see a man who transformed from a nerdy bookseller into a figure of symbolic dominance. This is the story we've been sold. A modern myth of unstoppable success, an empire built to last forever. But what if you've been sold a lie? What if that story of unstoppable success is just the greatest PR campaign in history, designed to hide the fatal flaws now causing the whole empire to wobble? What if these very symbols of strength, the yacht, the mansions, the sheer spectacle of it all, aren't just cracks in the foundation, but the seismic charges bringing the whole structure down? What if this empire is secretly collapsing from within? The mainstream narrative is that Jeff Bezos is a force of nature. But today, we're not just going to question that narrative, we're going to put it under the microscope, using his own flashy assets and public actions as evidence. We'll show you how the mega yacht became a lightning rod for global outrage, how his gilded real estate cages are fueling accusations of civic abandonment, and how his carefully crafted public image is becoming a catastrophic business liability. This isn't just a story about a billionaire's spending habits. It's the story of how hubris, public anger, and reputational rot are creating a domino effect that threatens the very pillars of the Amazon empire. This is the case file on the collapse of the House of Bezos. The first crack, the arrogance of the seas. Every story of collapse has an inciting incident. For the Bezos empire, it was a bridge. Not a metaphorical one, but a very real, very historic steel landmark in the heart of Rotterdam, known as the Hef. To understand the collapse, you have to start with its most ostentatious symbol, the Kourou. At 417 feet, it's one of the largest sailing yachts ever built, a $500 million monument to his own success. And that's precisely where the problem began. Before the Kourou could even touch the open ocean, it was trapped. Its three massive masts were too tall to pass under the Hef. The solution proposed by the yacht's builder, Oceanco, seemed simple enough to them. Just temporarily dismantle the historic bridge. This single request revealed a breathtaking level of arrogance. It crystallized a growing sentiment that the ultra-wealthy operate in a different reality, where history and public sentiment are merely obstacles to be bulldozed. The people of Rotterdam didn't see a practical request. They saw an assault. An online protest calling for citizens to greet the yacht with a barrage of rotten eggs went viral, becoming a global symbol of billionaire entitlement. What should have been a triumphant debut became a public relations catastrophe. The backlash was so fierce that the plan was scrapped. But this wasn't a win for Bezos, it was a humiliating retreat. Under the cover of darkness, the mastless hull of the Kourou was secretly towed out of the city, a quiet admission of defeat. For the first time, public outrage had visibly forced Jeff Bezos to bend. It proved he wasn't entirely untouchable. This was the first crack. But the bridge was only the beginning. The yacht comes with a price tag that is itself a source of constant pressure. The annual maintenance costs for Kourou and its 246-foot support vessel, Abena, are estimated to be between $35 and $40 million. That's over $100,000 every single day just to keep these symbols afloat. It's a perpetual financial drain that was reportedly highlighted when Bezos anchored the Kourou just outside a Croatian marina's limits, a move widely reported and mocked as a way to save about $5,000 in docking fees. The Kourou then became more than just a yacht. It became a focal point for criticism, a tangible object onto which people could project their anxieties about inequality and corporate power. It was the perfect metaphor, a gilded vessel, too big for the world it wanted to navigate, helmed by a man who seemed to believe his wealth put him above the rules. The yacht wasn't just a crack in the foundation, it was a hairline fracture that would start spiderweb through his entire empire. The widening fissure, rot, reputation, and real estate. The Rotterdam Bridge incident wasn't an isolated blunder. It was a symptom of a much deeper problem: reputational rot. This is what happens when a public figure's image becomes so toxic that every action is viewed through a lens of suspicion. For Bezos, this rot is spreading from the high seas to dry land, embedding itself in the foundations of his real estate empire. After leaving Seattle, Bezos made a very public move to Florida. He began assembling a compound on Indian Creek Island, an ultra-exclusive enclave known as the Billionaire Bunker. He spent over $237 million on multiple properties, planning to build a new mega mansion from scratch. Ostensibly, the move was to be closer to his parents in Blue Origin, but the timing told a different story. It conveniently coincided with Washington state's new 7% tax on capital gains over $250,000. Florida, famously, has no such tax. This didn't look like a lifestyle choice. It looked like a strategic tax dodge. By moving, it's estimated his 2024 stock sales could save him nearly $1 billion in state taxes. The narrative was damning. One of the richest men in the world who built his empire in a state supported by public infrastructure was now actively restructuring his life to avoid paying back into that system. The Billionaire Bunker became a symbol, not of success, but of civic abandonment. Protests followed, with his homes becoming targets for activists. This image of a detached oligarch was amplified by his personal life. The nerdy CEO who once famously drove a Honda Accord has been replaced by a spectacle of conspicuous consumption. His relationship with Lauren Sanchez and their lavish, multi-day wedding celebration in Venice became tabloid fixtures. The wedding, with rumored costs soaring into the tens of millions, sparked its own protests from locals who felt their historic city was being used as a private playground. The environmental impact of guests, reportedly arriving on a large fleet of private jets to a city literally sinking due to climate change, was not lost on critics. Every Instagram post from a yacht, every photo from a glamorous party creates a jarring contrast with headlines about Amazon's grueling warehouse conditions and its aggressive anti-union campaigns. This dissonance is the heart of the reputational rot. Even his attempts at goodwill are now viewed with cynicism. His $10 billion Bezos Earth Fund, while a huge sum, has been criticized for a lack of transparency and for being a relatively small fraction of his immense wealth. To many, it looks less like genuine altruism and more like a PR move to offset the negative press. The yacht, the mansions, the tax moves, they've all coalesced into a single, powerful, and deeply negative public identity. It's the identity of a man who takes what he wants while retreating from the society that made his success. This isn't just bad press. This rot has become a profound liability, one that's starting to infect his business empire. The internal crumbling, the business case. So how does a bad rot actually make a multi-trillion-dollar empire crumble? This is where public anger metastasizes into concrete business risk. The rot is eating away at the three pillars that support Amazon: its talent, its political standing, and its brand. First, the war for talent. Amazon's dominance was built on attracting the best minds, but for the younger generation of elite engineers and executives, a company's ethics matter. Working for Amazon and, by extension, for Jeff Bezos is becoming a potential stain on a resume. The best people have options, and the reputational rot creates a talent drain, a slow bleed that's devastating for a company that lives on innovation. Second, and perhaps most dangerous, is the political and regulatory siege. Politicians respond to public anger, and Bezos has made himself the ultimate political target. Every story about the yacht or his tax avoidance provides ammunition for lawmakers who argue Amazon is a dangerous monopoly. It's no coincidence that the Federal Trade Commission launched a landmark antitrust lawsuit against Amazon, accusing it of using monopoly power to harm consumers and sellers. These legal battles are costly and pose a real threat to Amazon's business model. His personal life is no longer personal. It's become Exhibit A in the government's case against his company. At the same time, his company is facing a renewed push for unionization. For years, Amazon successfully fought off organizing efforts, but the tide is turning. Warehouses in Staten Island and British Columbia have successfully unionized. Jeff Bezos built a gilded cage for himself, decorated with the finest things money can buy. But the bars of that cage are now the evidence against him. These aren't symbols of power. They are receipts for the cost of arrogance. They are the artifacts of an emperor who has lost touch with his empire. And that is how a fortress, once thought to be eternal, begins its slow, inexorable, and secret collapse. That's the real story behind the shocking truth about Jeff Bezos' $600 billion empire that only we are brave enough to tell. If you want more exclusive celebrity secrets, billion-dollar scandals, and Hollywood insider information delivered straight to your feed, subscribe now and join our VIP community. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. It involves a major A-lister and a scandal that will break the internet. You won't find this level of financial detail anywhere else on YouTube.